Ladies and gentlemen, this is one session which is led by Mandeep Lamba, but has on board some of the finest names. I mean, names of gentlemen who lead multi million dollar, multi billion dollar corporations in India and South Asia. Each one of them has huge credentials, finest names. Each one of you look up to, and perhaps will pinch yourself once they shook your hand. Without much ado, I shall hand over this session to Mandeep Lamba, who will lead the leaders session with, it's called the Leadership Agenda. Mandeep, my brother and friend, a very genial person, a hotelier of yore, extremely strong credentials. He leads HBS Anarok as the president for South Asia. An amazing gentleman, a great supporter. Whenever I hit a rock or a slow patch, I call him up. Mandeep sir, Sat Sri Akal ji, this is how my messages start. And let me tell you, it doesn't take a moment for him to come out with advice. A great advisor, great consultant in a natural job. Over to you, Mandeep.
Thank you so much, Bhuvnesh. Am audible to everybody? Bhuvnesh, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can.
Absolutely.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bhuvnesh. It's wonderful to be here on this great session that you've created, the great event that you've created. It's unbelievable to see the who's who of the industry all coming together, to put this event under these very distressed times. And obviously, I think everyone wants to get together, wants to feel connected, and wants to communicate to everybody else that we're in this together. To kick off this event today, and this being the very first panel, what we thought of doing was that we all know the severity of the problem. I think there's been enough that has already been said, been posted, been printed. We published reports. Everybody else has. The world has published stories and reports on how devastating this pandemic is going to our sector. We heard Mr. Amitabh Kant in the morning talk about it. We heard Mr. Nakul Anand talk about it. So what we thought we'd do today, as the inaugural session, is not focus on the negatives of the COVID, of which you're all fairly well aware by now, and try and see if there are some positive takeaways that we will see in the post-COVID era once this sort of destruction is behind us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a little summary of the industry and how we've sort of fared in the last couple of decades and what did it look like and where is it heading from here, notwithstanding what's going to happen because of COVID. I have an immensely illustrious panel. You can't get bigger leaders than this on any panel. These are people who are running their businesses on the ground, who have a real feel of what's going on, who are dealing with this pandemic and are also looking at how things are going to shape up in the future. And as we go along, I will introduce you to each one of them. But for now, let me try and give you a little summary. The one thing that came out of Mr. Kant's talk in the morning, and I think Veer always does a fabulous job of being very, very direct and getting all the responses. Instead, I think we should all feel reassured that somewhere, while we have not sensed it perhaps in so many ways, I think the government is mindful of what's happening to the sector. And I think that it's going to hold our hand one way or the other, maybe a little later than most of us had thought it would happen. But clearly, I think the message from the power corridor is that don't lose hope, we're there behind you and we'll get your back sooner rather than later. In the organized sector, in 2000, the size of the sector was 10,000 crores. Today, and I'm talking organized, I'm not talking the entire sector. Today it's at about 70,000 crores. That's how we've grown. Room inventory, 82,000 keys in 2000. We crossed 300,000 keys today. We've grown at about 7% CAGR. Occupancy was 57% in 2000. I'm talking pan-India. We clocked little over 66% in 2019, even though the supply grew by 400%. Our foreign tourist arrivals were 2.5 million, which have grown to 11 million at a growth rate of 8.4%. And here's the big one, which Amitabh also talked about in the morning. Domestic tourist visits have grown to a staggering 1,855 million from 220 million at a growth rate of 12.5%. And this is going to be our biggest differentiator. Airline passengers have grown from 42 million to 342 million at a CAGR of 11.6%. Our number of operational airports have grown from 50 to 137. International airports have grown from 11 to 29. And we are looking at adding 100 additional airports in the next 5 years. Also in the next 5 years, one of the big things that is emerging out of this disruption, unlike all earlier disruptions, is that this time it's not likely to be a demand problem alone, right? This time we have demand. There's no supply issue. It's only demand. Our supply is at the lowest that we are going to see over a long period of time. And whatever little supply, which was expected to grow at about 2.5%, is also going to slow down a little because of the pandemic. So we're not going to see too much of supply coming in, which we witnessed in all the other disruptions that we had earlier on, whether it was the Mumbai terror attacks or 9/11, all the global financial crises. So you're likely to see the revival coming much quicker. And in any case, India is amongst the fastest growing tourism destinations in the world. Very quickly, I want to give you a little snapshot before I move on to the panelists. In our three key cities, which is Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, our total room inventory is roughly about 25,000. Delhi, if you take NCR, it's slightly higher at about 29,000. Here are the room inventories of key cities in Asia. Singapore has 72,000, Jakarta has 61, Hong Kong has 75,000, Tokyo has 137,000, Bangkok has 95,000, and Shanghai has 269,000 rooms. These are cities comparable to the cities we are talking about in India. So there is only one way that the industry is going to go, and that is it has to grow exponentially as India's economy grows, as the world remains focused on India being one of the largest economies in the world. So I don't think there is despair in the long term. We are going to have a blip, and it's going to be a serious blip. There's going to be damage, there's going to be collateral damage, but it's only going to slow down things. It's not, we've heard some doomsday prophecies about this whole sector getting into, real redundancy, and, a lot of people want to get out or exit from this sector and go into other sectors. But I want to reassure the world, I want to reassure people who work in this sector, people who are studying to make careers in this sector. I want to reassure investors, I want to reassure owners that this is a blip, a big one, perhaps the biggest we've taken. We'll have to find ways to survive it. But at the end of it, 2 years, 3 years down the line, it's all going to come back. We've heard that from Mr. Amitabh Kant on how there's going to be a huge bounce back. So let's get on with the agenda for today. And I'm going to start, Neeraj, with you, if you may. Mr. Neeraj Gogal, just a very brief introduction without getting into the formalities. For everybody who may not know, everybody knows Neeraj. But for those who may not know, heads the Marriott Hotels and Resorts business for South Asia. Neeraj, let's talk about fixed cost in hotels, which is probably our most focused area, and which, by the nature of them being fixed costs, we often have not very much that we can do about it. One of the things that seems to be coming out of this pandemic is that we should be able to reduce our fixed costs. One of the things we've had to do regretfully during this pandemic is to reduce our manpower numbers purely to survive. Do you think, in your opinion, that the manpower numbers which we have reduced will ever come back to the manpower numbers we had pre-COVID?
Good afternoon to all the fellow panelists as well, and to the audience that has joined us today. And Bhuvanesh, let me begin by saying congratulations on this week-long summit that you've organized. I think it's a terrific initiative, especially in these very challenging times.
Thank you.
So, Mandeep, coming to your question, as we've navigated our way through these, what we all call unprecedented few months now, I think the hotel sector has had to think on its feet and come up with some very innovative, creative, ingenious, out-of-the-box ways to generate cash flow. And in the process, we've opened up several new revenue streams, and I'm sure some of these will consolidate into mainstream revenue generation streams for us going forward. But this out-of-the-box ingenuity will be even more amplified when it comes to better managing our cost lines. And to this ingenuity, we need to add rigor, we need to add discipline, and in my opinion, we need to add consistency. Today, when you look at our business, to put it very simply, we are in deep contingency mode. The entire gamut of the operational costs today, be it fixed or variable, is under intense scrutiny. And I'm talking about every single cost line of the P&L here, whether it is above the gross operating profit line or below it. And I have no doubt that lowering of costs will have to have industry-wide applicability, or the business will struggle in financial terms from a sustainable perspective. So, we are really well aware today that even though restrictions are being eased, and we saw some very pleasing announcements yesterday, and we begin to emerge out of this crisis, demand will be challenged. There will be downward pressure on rates, and this will have a direct impact on our profitability unless we bring our cost line or our cost base back in line. So this crisis really has compelled us, I would say, as an operator, as a responsible and prudent operator, to pause, take a look at how we operate our business and sort of reevaluate. And I believe we must seize this opportunity to bring about changes in the way we manage our business. So the business needs to be reimagined, it needs to be repurposed, and it needs to take into account the expected demand over the next 12 to 24 months. We need to take into account market trends, we need to take into account consumption patterns, customer expectations, the new revenue streams that I talked about, the new health and sanitation protocols and directives, and the resources that are going to be required to pivot to some of these new markets that we are going to be having to play in. And through all of this, we've got to make sure that we stay competitive and we stay progressive, right? So at Marriott, I think when you look at our cost lines here, we need to start by looking at the cost of customer acquisition, and to really reduce these, we need to keep working on diversifying our channel portfolio on terms that we find agreeable and are able to support. We need to closely review our costs linked to penetration of certain key source markets. We need to look at how we are engaging with our Marriott Bonvoy members and loyalty program members, and essentially rethink our communication channels with them. But essentially, what I'm trying to say here, I guess, is the cost of customer acquisition will be largely dependent on how our segment strategies are going to play out. You talked about manning levels. Manning levels at hotels will have to be realigned, are being realigned and reduced as we repurpose the business and we right-size the business. I believe brand standards will see a change. Service designs, for the most part, will see changes. Transactional touch points will be reduced. In some brands, maybe even eliminated. There will be definitely a more efficient use of technology and multitasking of roles. So I foresee flattening of management hierarchies and a much more hands-on approach to hotel keeping. As is the case in many developed economies in the West, where wage costs are pretty high, right? So it's already there. It's about reprinting some of that in the way we do business here in India. And I can see a future where there's going to be a real focus on staff ratios, productivity levels, outsourcing, subcontracting of facilities, services, clustering of specialized services given our distribution as well. So that is on the manpower front. The other couple of areas on cost that I think we need to be talking about is, we need to acknowledge and really accept that we need to localize our supply chain of product and services to the greatest possible extent. Now's the time more than ever to do it. And this will reduce costs in procurement, in IT, in many cases, insurance costs, annual maintenance contract costs, and back-end outsourced services costs. So if we can localize our supply chain of product and services, we will see some very big savings here. And then there are also other costs, such as excise fees, cost of utilities, property taxes, and I think that's where we as a industry need to lobby through dialogue with state governments and related departments to try and bring some of these costs down. Now, some of these may appear below the GOP line, but they still have a massive impact on our business, and I think that's where we can come together as an industry, going to what the previous speakers were talking about as well, and having a proper representation just to try and bring some of these costs down. So yes, I see operating costs, especially fixed costs, coming down greatly. And looking at the amount of work that has gone in and is already starting to reveal itself, I'm very confident that the results will ensure a long-term viability and sustainability of the hotel business. So that's my view on it. I think Winston Churchill used to say, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I think in times like this, you need to pay heed to that sound advice and see what we can do on the cost front there.
I couldn't agree more. So your view, which in some way resonates with mine, I'm not sure that resonates with everybody, but I think that we are looking certainly at reduction in our fixed operating costs. But I'm going to ask Prabhat next. He runs the largest hotel company in the country with a very wide distribution as well. And just to introduce Prabhat, again, make no introduction, but for those of you who know him, Prabhat heads the whole region and the international division of IHCL, popularly known as Taj Hotels. He also heads the ancillary revenue business, which we're going to talk in more depth a little later in the show, in the interesting part of today's show. Prabhat, what are your views? Do you think that Indian sort of manpower costs and related costs have been always towards the higher side compared to our global peers? And is that now going to get corrected given what we have experienced during the pandemic?
Thanks, Mandeep. And Bhuvanesh, many congratulations. I hope you all can hear my voice clearly.
Yes, we can.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, many congratulations, Bhuvanesh, and what a thumping start to this great event from Ms. Amitabh Kant, and it is just putting the right things right. So going back to what Neeraj mentioned, yes, there is a new reset that would happen in the way that the manning levels and the costs operate in our country. Yes, as I also handle the international operation, we do know the manning cost which is prevalent in UK, US and other places. So that will get aligned. Notwithstanding what I'm saying, there's also this great opportunity at this moment to relook at the facilities that you offer. And this is going to be for a limited period, mind you. I'm pretty optimistic and positive. There is this survival or revival phase that we are going through. The MHA Unlock 4 has also given a huge boost in terms of what's going to come. So we will have to manage the pandemic as what we are going through. But we will set sail, and we are almost at the level of nearly 30% of last year's business, and it's only growing with the sentiments that's been expressed by Mr. Kant and many other colleagues of ours. Domestic tourism was one great effort that we are looking at. In terms of my own area as ancillary business, this is something that we looked at it even 2.5, 3 years back when we put our brandscape with a word called expression as a new vertical. And I think this was something which was coming already, whether we reimagined our business club, the pioneering CEOs club called the Chambers. Since 1975, we revisited it, and it's getting launched in a big time once again with the Taj Mansingh in Delhi. And we are also opening the Chambers Club at the St. James, 51 Buckingham Gate in London. So ancillary, if you look at from a CEOs Members Club or homestay.
Can I just butt in for a second? I'm going to spend a fair amount of time separately talking to your ancillary business.
Sure.
So let me come back to that a little later, and I have a lot of more things which I need to ask you on the ancillary business and you give the details of that.
Mandeep, I have a point of view on this, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Can I come?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, Bhuvnesh, I think this is a fantastic forum. Congratulations. It went off to a great start. So well done. And this is really hitting and getting the ball back into the positive territory. So congratulations. My point of view is as follows on this particular issue. I think to start off with, we are in an industry which has historically been inefficient, right? I mean, if you look at the operating metrics across our hotels, if you look at some of the other metrics such as manning ratios, if you look at flow-through levels, if you look at various other metrics, this historically we have been quite an inefficient industry. This particular period of the last couple of months, to me, seems to have, I tend to see the silver lining on this cloud, where, it's an opportunity for us to be able to reset some of those efficiencies and bring the industry into a position of strength in the longer term. Please realize that the hotel industry, if you look at it, purely from a margin perspective and from an ROI perspective, there is a lot that needs to be done to sweat the asset for it to be able to return the required ROIs for the ownership community. And I think this is an opportunity which I term as a hard reset. And, clearly, I think, you're coming off from a very high ground, a very high base. And we've been able to, now hopefully been able to take out some of that inefficiency in the longer run. What would that mean for the industry in the longer run is clearly our fixed costs should and would perhaps be in line with some of the global standards. That's one. Secondly, from an industry growth perspective, it should attract more investment and consequently growth into the industry. So that being said, clearly from our perspective, we have utilized the last 3 to 4 months when there was an absolute lockdown and shutdown of the business, and we fast-tracked something that we call as the India Unification Plan, which essentially covers the entire 360 degrees of the business. And there are about 23 initiatives which are involved, which go all the way from people management to procurement to operations, the whole 360 degrees of the business. And this was something which we were working on previously, but we have been actually, and thanks to our team who worked incredibly hard, we've been able to reduce that 12-month implementation period into a 12-week plan. So as we go into now the recovery mode, and again, I perhaps by preference choose to see the glass half full. We clearly are emerging from a crisis. I think that is we cannot deny that. And sitting in April where our portfolios were sitting at maybe single-digit occupancies to where we are sitting now in the mid 30 degrees, in the mid 30%, sorry. On a portfolio level, I think that's a great movement by itself. I'm not saying that at the end of the year we will get to historical levels of 70% plus on a portfolio level, but even if you're able to get to 40-45%, I think we would have still recovered tremendously from a very low base to what I would call as a moderate level of performance. The important bit here is to be able to reduce and use this opportunity to reduce those fixed costs, for the longer term efficiency of the business. So that's just the things which I wanted to add in here. Thank you.
I think we've got a sort of a consensus that going forward in the future, we are going to see a reasonable reduction in our fixed costs as a takeaway from this, which is only going to make the business more efficient and our return on the business much better than what they are today, which is a great takeaway from here. I'm going to move on to the next.
Hi, Mandeep. Sorry, can I come in, Mandeep? I just had a slightly different take on this one. Thanks. Bhuvnesh, again, congratulations. As I believe one of the biggest show ever in the history of Indian hospitality industry. So congratulations. And again, it shows, extreme positivity from business world and your associates to carry on this despite the pandemic. It sends, I think, a great positive message to everybody, not only in India, but around the world. So thank you for giving me an opportunity again to be part of this panel.
Delighted and welcome to India.
Thanks, Bhuvnesh. So I think we can criticize or bash ourselves that the industry in India has been inefficient, but I think we should look at it. Why is it? Is it from a cultural point of view and also from a guest expectation point of view? I mean, as you know, with the Ibis, we were kind of the market leader in bringing economy hotels into India. And we really had to adapt. And I have to say, initially, we struggled to adapt the model to what the requirement of the guest in India was. For example, I mean, in Europe, we would not have mini bars or tea making facilities in the room. You will definitely not have a concierge or somebody assisting with the luggage. You will not have room service available in economy hotels, which is pretty much standard around the world. But when we launched the product in India about almost 15, 18 years ago, we really had to adapt and struggle because there was a huge guest demand to provide this service. They might not be wanting to pay the rate of an economy hotel, but they still kind of wanted this service. So moving forward, I'm not sure if we can really change the expectation of the psyche of especially our Indian guests, because there is a certain expectation. And I think over time, they've been spoiled because our industry, I think, historically started from, luxury brand, and slowly, the international operators introduced the economy mid-scale levels of services. And I think we are still evolving and learning as we introduce our brands into India. So I think that's another way of looking at it, that the guest demand in India are much, much higher compared to, in some other parts of the world. They're happy to carry their luggage when they check into a hotel in Paris, Rome, or some of the other parts. But when they land in Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru, or Kolkata, they expect the doorman to open the door and somebody to with the luggage. So I think that's one point. Second point, I think, again, in India, historically, our labor cost has been cheaper, right? But that was historical. I think the last 5 or 10 years, once you look at all the on-cost and the cost creeps that have come in, the cost is comparable to a lot of other, at least Southeast Asian countries. So the labor cost has gradually increased. And now I think it's comparable to, many parts of the world. So yes, as an industry, we have to look at where, we can be more efficient, reduce the fat, look at the structures. But I think we have to look at the whole context rather than just say that we were inefficient and now because of the pandemic overnight we can become efficient.
No, Puneet, I have a take. I'm sorry, we're taking a little bit more.
Zubin, can I butt in? We'll have to move on, please. We've got a whole other section to come. So we'll come back to you, Zubin, on this point.
Yeah, okay.
I'm glad, Puneet, that you brought up this, this point about customer expectation, because that leads me to my next section. That is this the moment where we can alter customer expectation, and whether the customer is going to be far more prepared to expect a different level of service given his experience with the pandemic given the need for this whole contact-less and more physical environment in which he wants to stay for his own hotel hygiene. So I'm going to come to you, Anil. And before I go on, Anil Chadda is the Chief Operating Officer for ITC Hotels. For those who may not know him, he's been an industry stalwart for many years. Anil, do you think this is a turning point for the Indian industry where we can alter customer expectation and bring it in line with what it is in many parts of the world? And is it going to be far more achievable today to see hotels with high government big doors, or maybe no concierge, or even where you're doing digital, check-in and check-out, no delivery of newspapers, for example? All of those traditional paradigms, are we going to see that customer shift?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone on the panel. First of all, Bhuvnesh, Anurag, and the entire BW team. Many congratulations for putting this entire summit together, like everyone else has said, and thank you for the invitation to join this lovely panel and speak about what's happening on the leadership agenda.
Thank you.
Coming specifically to your question, I think the world around us today, after a do not disturb, is probably coming back. For the last few months, it was very clear that nobody really wanted to come back. But what one has been seeing in the last few weeks is that probably the new normal has finally arrived. Just like 2611 permanently changed the security protocols across the world, COVID-19 will also redefine some of the hygiene standards in the years to come. Sanitization before personalization, to my mind, is the new luxury code at this point in time. And as you rightly mentioned, the customer expectations, demands are going to be very different than what it was before. From highly visible service that the world has been used to, it would certainly be seldom seen, never touch, but always felt. There's a lot of work that the industry has done over the last 3 or 4 months, and one has seen a lot of studies, one has seen a lot of articles. Everybody has probably gone back to the drawing board, and you have to completely redefine your standards of service. New brand standards with masks and screens, which have come into play. But you can never forget the warmth and the smiles of the Indian hospitality. I think that has remained completely intact. India has always been known for its hospitality, for its food, for its culture, across the length and breadth of the country. Mr. Anand also spoke about the Namaste, and I think it's a true symbol of Atithi Devo Bhava. But yes, things are going to change today. But what is it that we can do today? I think you got to say no to panic and yes to precaution has to be the attitude. The new normal, to my mind, is going to be built on health, hygiene, and safety. These are going to be the 3 most important pillars. For hygiene, everybody is collaborating with various medical professionals, disinfection experts. All of us have gone back to the drawing board. You looked at every touch point that your staff is going to come in touch with the customer. Your staff is going to touch with the staff itself. Every moment of truth, whether it's landing at the airport, getting into a car, a contactless check-in, room service protocol, room cleaning protocol, the screens, the masks, the banquet screens, the elevator protocols, grab and go meals, all these have come into play. And customer is pretty happy to see that, So cleanliness has become the new amenity to begin with. Whatever little that we have started with, the first thing people are looking for is what you've done. So when hotels said location, today is probably cleanliness. Why are these protocols being done? It's only one. It's just 2 words if you ask me, and that is reassure. The customer is very nervous. Everybody has been very nervous of stepping out. Now when the new normal comes back, when they step into your restaurants, when they step into your hotels, is this all what they want to see? Safety is completely on show, to my mind, ladies and gentlemen. Every customer wants to see your cleanliness theater. With the recent openings of the hotel over the last 2 months, some restaurant openings in the last 1 month or so, one has seen the kind of questions that are being asked. One has seen the appreciation on what the customer is saying about all the various hygiene protocols that are being followed at the restaurants. Whether you're giving your plates in a sleeve, whether your food and beverage service staff is in complete visor, there's no contact service. Every restaurant is coming out with new service design to make sure that as little contact with the customer, the better it is. menus have gone out, QR codes have set in. So the entire industry is probably working towards this. But remember, safety is completely on show. Health, hygiene, safety, they will all take the center stage. And as we move on from moments of truth to moment of trust, two simple words which we coined many years back, responsible luxury for ITC hotels, I think are even more relevant today with a much deeper meaning. Whatever we do for our guests and associates, doing it responsibly would be the mantra to my mind. The entire industry has to adapt to these sweeping changes as the guests and the associates, they both come back to a new world of hospitality. All the hoteliers sitting on this panel will agree with me that the tables have turned. We used to ask the guest, how are you doing? But today, the first question the guest is asking, what have you done to make us safe? And at every interaction, all the guests we know, whether you go back to the corporates, whether you go back to MICE business, whether you go back into wedding business, we do a lot of business in restaurants. Until unless you are able to give this confidence, you got to assure the guest that you have followed all the protocols. Some amazing guidelines have been written. So if you are able to display that safety, and that is what I think the customer is seeing. So going back to your question again, that yes, it will be redefined. The expectations are becoming different. Remember, perception is very important in our industry. Not only we got to eliminate the germs, you also need to eliminate the anxiety. The future is definitely a future of opportunity. We all agree with that. Long-term, things will bounce back. Short-term, the survival has just begun to my mind. Tribal is still far away. But as you spoke about the cost, as Prabhat spoke about ancillary revenues, I think the imaginative thinking will differentiate the winners from the rest. As the society, I also agree, puts in the reset button. And that's what we are all aiming for right now. So those are some of my thoughts on
Anil, very well articulated. Sanjay, I'm going to come to you, asking you the same question, that are we going to see a customer reasonably content away from a hotel which has much fewer services than he had earlier? For example, a house on demand. We've got some.
Mandip, I can't hear you clearly.
Can I request the other people on mute, please?
Mandeep, your audio. Everybody else is on mute.
No, now they're on mute. Yeah.
Great.
Sanjay, coming to you, the same question. Do you think this is a great opportunity where customer expectations are finally going to change, like they did for airlines, and we had the low-cost carriers redefining the way people flew and everyone accepted it? Hotels always had this issue that customers in hotels are far more demanding and they're not willing to accept the change. Is this the turning point where I think the customer is going to be more acceptable to the changes purely because it's a safety issue for him as well? And where we were talking in the hospitality business of being a people's business, we're suddenly talking of a hospitality business with much, much fewer people and much fewer, contact points. Is it your case that this is a time to reset customer expectations for services which are going to be far fewer than they have been in the past?
Well, thank you, Mandeep. And I would really like to appreciate, Bhuvnesh, the efforts which you have put in here and BW Hotelier. Also, a big hello to all the panelists. And I wish good health to everybody. And more than that, I would really like to thank the audience, which comes in large numbers to listen to us, not only in this panel, but the earlier panel also, which we had. So thank you very much, all the audience who really comes in large numbers. Mandeep, coming back to your question, I think reset and acceptability is about its acceptance of ours and the guests together, of what we do together with what was happening in India as a country and what the expectations were. I think Zubin said things about that, and also Puneet mentioned that it was not about, that there were a lot of expectations here and we were inefficient or things like that. However, when the expectations change, the expectations in our industry is about how do you manage those little asks or those little things which we have to do without even the customer telling us. How do we do that? We need to answer that. Now, a lot of people talk about solutions out of the box. I think the box is gone. There is no box. We need to start thinking. We need to start thinking in very different ways. We talk about realigning, we talk about redefining. I think those days are gone. We need to learn from the history and start rewriting how expectations are going to be there, because expectations are going to be very, very different. While the guest wants the same comfort and the same things which need to be given to him, but they want it in a different way where they are assured that these are safe for them, these are healthy for them, and these are done in a way that there is care demonstrated and all that. So we need to redefine ourselves, actually rewrite our processes, rewrite our things, and say, okay, this is what is going to be from now on. We need to look at our own mindsets first. Expectations come later. We need to look at our thought process, that how did we address our services when they were being taken out to our customers. We need to look inwards first and then go outwards and then match them and marry them with the customer's expectations. Because yes, I think you're right. Customer expectations are going to change. They're going to be demanding as such is not really demanding. I think it's about what needs to be provided and what their aspirations are. We sometimes are also into aspirational business. So we need to see how we rewrite what we do and provide all those things with what is going to be the new norm.
So I'm going to rephrase my question a little to ask you directly, two questions. One is actually one question. Is a customer going to be more forgiving if there is no doorman to open the door in your hotel? And I'm going to ask you, are you going to realign your housekeeping services, for example? Is there still going to be every single day, housekeeping services for rooms? Are you going to do turn down services? Are you going to rethink this while there is an opportunity, because the customer does not necessarily want that kind of contact every day?
So Mandeep, it's not about, it's about two components, what and how. It's not only what we are going to do, it's how are we going to do it. So yes, there is going to be, it's what at Hyatt, what we have done is we have kept our ears to the ground, very close to our guests. So whatever we do at Hyatt, we talk to our guests, they are our partners, and say, okay, what is it and how is it we can do so that you feel welcome, you feel comfortable, and how do we minimize contact but yet maximize care? Our idea is to minimize contact, maximize care. Yes, for sure, you will have housekeeping services, but it will be up to a guest to choose what he would want us to do. So if he wants a housekeeping service daily, it would be given to him. But the choice would be left out there for a customer, for our partner, for our guest, who's going to choose how he wants it. So it's not only about what, it's about what is being done and how it is being done. I think the how becomes much more important here, where you make your customers as your partners as we navigate through this crisis, and then you go beyond it and listen to them and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. Because what happens is, from full contact, now we are talking about contactless. So that's something we need to again rewrite what we are doing. But how do you rewrite it? The question to answer is, how do you do it, not what you do. Yes, what is very important, but how are you going to do it? Are you going to do it thinking what you think, or how are you going to collaborate with your customer and say, okay, this is what it is, and this is what makes a difference, and this is what is going to differentiate what our offering is. So I would do that.